by one. There's about 40 people on the call, and we might have some more people joining us, as they get settled this afternoon, which is perfectly fine. I want to welcome everyone here, say thank you for taking time to come chat with us. Just to confirm, you are in the TCNJ webinar for accepted students, particularly for the Department of Marketing and Interdisciplinary Business at the College of New Jersey. We do have our chair of the department with us, as well as some fantastic students that are going to tell you about their experience. I want to direct everyone to the chat box. If you are new to using Zoom, you just want to move your cursor towards the bottom of the screen and you'll see the chat function. When you type questions, please type them to everyone, and that way we all see your questions, and we'll also make sure as a team that we don't overlook any of your questions. So if you use the chat box, that'll be great because there's so many of us. But for right now, I'm going to hand this over to Dr. McCarty, who is the chair for Marketing and Interdisciplinary Business.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you coming by and listening in on us. I'm sorry it kind of got started late. That was actually my fault. I was having some technical difficulties on my end of it. I'm an older professor, and sometimes the older ones are a little harder to get used to this technology. But I have been using Zoom for my classes, and obviously going to be using Zoom today. I should say, though, that this is a very different kind of way we've done this than in the past. And in the past, with Accepted Students Days and the open houses, it's always been in person. That really is TCNJ's strong suit. So, in terms of all the schools you might be looking at, this is one that, in general, we don't do a lot of stuff distant as we are now. And of course, circumstances with the pandemic has changed that. So this is certainly not my wheelhouse to do it. I think we're what we'd call a high touch campus in the sense that we have close connections with students. And by the time that students leave, they get to know faculty pretty well as mentors and so on. So this is a little unusual that probably in a sense isn't putting us in the best light on us, but again, it's just the nature of circumstances. So again, I appreciate you doing this, and we'll hopefully be as informative as we would in person. It's just, again, a little different circumstance. I'm getting used to this. I had a meeting earlier today with actually 3 students who have graduated, and we were putting together a video for the freshmen that are looking and thinking about their major. So I'm definitely getting used to doing a lot of different things in a different way than we usually do. In any event, with respect to the day, I'll talk a little bit and just kind of give you an overview. Then I do have 3 students here that will speak about their own experiences. And there's a little bit of a variety in what they've done, some commonality as well, as you'll see. And one of the things I want to mention to them, as well as what is true for me, is that I don't regard this as a sales pitch. We do not really have to sell TCNJ. What I'm trying to do is help you make your decision about where you should go to college. And I mean, the worst thing I could do would be to try to talk someone into coming here and it's not the best place for them. So if I can do anything to help you make that decision, even if that decision is not to come to TCNJ, I mean, that's my goal. I really, in my mind, there's nothing worse than having somebody come here and be disappointed because it's not the kind of school they want to go to. And in fact, while you're thinking about the colleges that you want to attend, there's always trade-offs. It is impossible for one school to be the best place for everybody. I mean, as a simple way of stating that, there's no way that we can be a big university of all the things that 30,000 person universities have, and also be a small school. It'll be, and this is the kind of thing I'll usually talk about every time I do this in person in previous years. We can't offer, well, I compare us to Rutgers, for example. Rutgers is a Big Ten university. We have a football team, but it's not going to have the same pomp and circumstance of Big Ten football, though Rutgers usually isn't doing that well in the Big Ten, but that's a whole different thing. But we can't, and the variety of things that a school that, and the variety of majors that a school like that can offer. On the other hand, as a general statement, our classes are going to be much smaller than the classes one would have if they go to Rutgers. And it kind of comes down to your decision about what's important to you. I mean, I taught at University of Illinois years ago. Very proud to have taught there. I also have a PhD from there. And when I taught there, and I taught senior level classes, so I had relatively small classes, but I knew students would tell me, that, their intro economics was 800 people in a big auditorium and things like that. And I can remember at graduation, sometimes a student introduced me to their parents and mentioning their parents that I was the only professor that knew them by name before they left. And, again, they might have gone there because it's a very good school. It has a good reputation, but they didn't realize, so they got there, oh, gee, I would have really liked to have known professors a bit better. I can assure you, if you come here, that there'll be more than one professor that will know you by name, and not just the ones that you had maybe trouble in that class, but ones that will help you in terms of thinking about your career opportunities and those sorts of things. So we can offer a very personal connection when you're in our program. Again, we may not be able to offer the variety of majors that a large school can, because it's just very difficult to have very specialized programs, because it's hard to run those classes. So in that regard, let me kind of talk a little bit about our program. The way I like to think about it is when you finish, or when you're going to school here, that is, think of your coursework in sort of 4 bins, if you will, with one bin being liberal learning, a second bin being the general business stuff that's not marketing or IDB, a third bin kind of being your specialized area like marketing or interdisciplinary business, and then a fourth is electives, the sort of stuff you have left over after all those other requirements. So liberal learning is actually what I consider a very important bin. That is the part of it where you're educated more generally and not necessarily specific to your major. So yes, you'll take a science with a lab, you'll take mathematics, you'll take a humanities course, a history class. And part of that is just being generally educated. And I'm actually very much a firm believer in that college is not just to teach you a profession, that it is to educate, and that we want you to come out of here to not only be somebody that can jump into a job and do a very good job, but also somebody that can be a citizen of their community, a citizen of their state, a citizen of the world, if you will. And that's where liberal learning kind of plays its part, to be just sort of a generally educated human being. And so that's a very important part of your education. Sometimes students don't like that. They don't do well in science and stuff, but it is what we believe to be part of being a well-rounded, educated person. So that's sort of one bin. The second one I mentioned was general business education. And what I mean by that is that you will specialize in, say, marketing or interdisciplinary business, but you also need to know all the other facets of business to some degree. So yes, you'll take accounting classes, you'll have economics, you'll take courses in management, even though maybe you're a marketing major. You'll take courses in finance, not many, but some, even if you're a marketing major. And so there's sort of, because the degree you'll actually get, regardless of whether you're a marketing specialization or an interdisciplinary business specialization, your degree is actually a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. So it is a general degree in that broad area of business. So that's sort of the second bin, if you will. The third is your courses that specialize you in either marketing, interdisciplinary business. So in marketing, you'll take a course on marketing analytics. There's a capstone course, and then you'll have three, I believe, marketing options. So if you're kind of interested in sales, maybe you'll take the sales course. And like that, if you're interested in marketing promotions and communications, maybe you'll take the digital marketing and the advertising course, or you take just a mixture of them. So there's actually a fair amount of flexibility within the marketing program in terms of the courses you take in marketing. Now, if you're interdisciplinary business, and I would imagine is generally the case, there's fewer of those in marketing, that is the one specialization in the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration that's a little bit unique or different. What it really, it's designed to be for the people that marketing or management or those usual kind of tracks don't quite fit with their interests. And they want to have a sort of a specialty track, maybe one that they self-design. So if you have a real particular interest, you want to self-design that. Or there's a couple of templates that are already there. One of them is business and public policy. If you're very interested in policy issues, so that's kind of the intersection of sort of governmental policy things with business. And another template that we have already designed is one that's called innovation. And because the area of innovation kind of crosses lots of areas. It's not really owned by one business specialization. One could argue, oh, gee, innovation belongs in management. Well, you could also argue it belongs in marketing, and some would argue it belongs in places even outside of the business school, because you can have innovation in all kinds of organizations or outside of organizations. So there is an innovation track within the interdisciplinary business program. That's the one that's most confusing to people, and so there might well be some questions by some of the people that are interested in or in the IDB. I can either, if we have time, of course, I'll answer them here, or email back and forth or have a chat with you at some other time, or one of the faculty in that, because that's the one that if you're in that, sometimes you're still, even if you're in it and been accepted to it, you may be a little unclear about some of that. The marketing is a track that probably isn't as necessarily what all the people that were accepted in marketing believe. I think one of the things about marketing that's always a little misleading is that people tend to assume marketing is selling and telling, as the old expression, meaning that marketing is sort of advertising and sales. And that's really what marketing is all about. In fact, some people use the term marketing interchangeably with the term advertising or sales. I see somebody trying to market it to me, meaning they're trying to sell me something. Marketing really involves a lot more than just selling and telling, just the advertising that you see on TV or in magazines and someone trying to sell you something. That's one of the reasons why I've got these 3 students here, because they've had some experiences in some of the parts of marketing areas you may not think are marketing. While we don't have enough time probably right here to go into all the detail of that, is to say that marketing involves a lot of things, some things that people don't realize are part of it. And it's really most everything between kind of getting a product from its basic original source or like a shirt. Let's say you want to market a shirt, well, it's all the way from when the cotton was grown and it was made into a cloth and into a shirt, all the way to the retail and selling it. So it's all the steps along the way that add value to that. And so a lot of stuff is marketing between one business and another and so on. We tend to just sort of see the parts of marketing that are visible to us as consumers. So lots of opportunities, lots of different kinds of opportunities in marketing. So that's one of the reasons, like I say, I wanted to have my 3 students that we have here today talk about it. One thing I will mention, and it's not a mistake on my part because these are all very good students, it turns out that all 3 of them happen to do a co-op with Johnson & Johnson. So there is a little, I don't want to suggest in any way that that's the only internship or co-op that people do if they're in marketing. It just was coincidentally the case. And I can't remember if any of y'all have had a different internship as well, but we have students who has. Oh, good. So please talk about those other ones as well, because we don't want them to think that Johnson & Johnson's are only, although they are, and we have a very good relationship with Johnson & Johnson. So on any given year, we have several people that have an internship or co-op with Johnson & Johnson. We have people who are get a full-time job with them upon graduation, of which that's true for one of the 3 students here that we're seeing. But we have had students who have had internships in all kinds of other organizations. Princeton Partners, which is an advertising agency up the street. Some people have gone into New York City and done something at like Madison Square Garden, if they're interested in sort of sports marketing. So lots of different internships. So what I want to do now is turn it over to the students. And again, I instruct them to be, just as I said, this isn't a sales pitch, be honest with them in terms of the questions they ask, tell it like it is, because we want to try to do whatever we can to match them with the best school for them. So I don't know if y'all decided on an order or not.
I can go first.
Okay. Victoria Presser, she'll start ball rolling. She's about ready to graduate. So
yeah, so as Dr. McCarty said, I'm a senior. I'm in my last semester. It's kind of weird because now it's virtual. So I'm a marketing major. So some of my kind of involvement around campus, I'm in a business fraternity here, and it's specialized in sales, marketing, and finance. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm also in a sorority, and I'm also an ambassador on campus. So I actually give tours of our campus too, which is really awesome. So a little bit about like my internship co-op experience. I did my first internship. I don't know if the ladies in here know Tori Birch. I did my first internship there. So that was a really cool internship. It definitely was like a creative marketing type of internship. So it was like the window displays and things of that nature. And somebody in my business fraternity, one of the girls actually did a internship there right before me. So she kind of really like helped to kind of guide me in the right direction when I was applying and things of that nature. So, you know, we're always kind of like relying on other people in our school as well as our alumni. We have like a really strong alumni base. I'm sure like Nicole and Sarah could definitely attest to that. In terms of my other internship experience, I did 2 co-ops with J&J. So for those of you that don't know what a co-op is, basically it's an internship, but it goes for 5 or 6 months. It's during the semester. So you're actually working full time during the semester and you're taking classes at night. So Dr. McCarty did a really awesome job of kind of guiding us to, you know, figure out when we're going to have our classes at night and then be able to work during the day. So the 2 co-ops that I did were in supply chain. And, you know, as Dr. McCarty was saying, a lot of what I learned in my classes was super applicable in like my actual internship experience, which is really awesome. So like I used marketing analytics concepts and things of that nature. So it was really awesome. And then post-college, I'm actually going to be working with J&J. So starting in June, I think, which I'm really, really excited about. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then a little bit about my like involvement in like competitions that I've been able to do at TCNJ. So I'm in a business fraternity again. It's specialized more for like sales and marketing. So I've gotten super involved with the sales competition side of it. And I found it to be really fun. I took a sales course here that really helped me to kind of, you know, kind of get used to and like step into the sales space too. So I've done 8 sales competitions from sophomore year to my senior year. And I've actually, through the competitions, I've won more than $6,000, like just from placing. And I've been able to kind of put that toward my tuition. So I'm sure Nicole and Sarah, again, could speak more to this, but we have 3 business fraternities on campus, as well as a bunch of other organizations. And they give you a lot of like opportunities to participate in events like this. So like marketing case competitions, finance competitions, and you can actually win real money. And then we also have the Mayo business plan competition. So if anyone's like really interested in entrepreneurship, it's kind of like a Shark Tank competition and you can win up to $30,000. So that's pretty cool, I think. But yeah, there's like a ton of opportunities within the business school to kind of get involved and join organizations and get real life experience. So maybe even if you don't do like an internship, you could still do a competition or something and you can kind of like put that on your resume. And TCNJ just has like an abundance of resources and things of that nature that you really can apply to real life. So yeah, that's a little bit about my experience.
Okay, now, so Sarah or Nicole, whichever one wants to go next.
I'll go next. I'll take it away. So, hi everyone. First of all, congratulations on being accepted to TCNJ. That's a really awesome accomplishment. To tell you a little bit about myself, so I am currently a junior marketing major, so I have 1 year left at TCNJ, which is really sad. And I am also an ambassador on campus, so I'm also one of those people that gives tours and is really energetic and smiling in stripes, and we would be waving you in with balloons on your Accepted Students Day, but this is the next big thing that we could do for you guys. Like Vic, I am also in a professional business fraternity, but we're less focused on sales and marketing and more open to all business majors, and we have a really strong alumni network through there as well, which I love. And I'm also a peer mentor for the School of Business. So if you commit to TCNJ, which I hope you do, you will definitely be seeing me in your Business 99 seminar in the fall. I will be leading one of your groups, I guarantee it. I also co-opted at J&J. I was not on the supply chain side. I was actually more on the sales and marketing side, but more heavier on sales. And that was kind of unexpected because the company went through a whole transformation. I signed up for a consumer brand management co-op and they placed me in sales, which is different. But I think it happened for the best. Like, I absolutely love my role there. It wasn't so much, everybody thinks sales is like just selling, like cold calling, stuff like that. It wasn't that. It was all about internal strategy and implementation and all the research behind it. And I actually got to lead a major research project for the whole allergy category to help Zyrtec, Benadryl, and then just the allergy category nationally at a bunch of different retailers. So that was really awesome. And one of my projects is going to be, well, it's supposed to be implemented in Rite Aid now, but it's supposed to be a really cool end cap design, but I don't know where that is with the whole coronavirus. But that's okay. So I want to talk about a little bit about studying abroad. I actually just came back, unfortunately, early from a semester in Heidelberg, Germany, which was really awesome because I got to take business courses there. And I actually found it very easy to work study abroad into my curriculum at TCNJ. And when I co-opted, I know Vic said that she took night classes, and that's usually what people do, but I had a lot of flexibility in my schedule where I was able to not take classes and just get credit for my co-op. So I was like real full-time adulting, like no classes, nothing. So it's kind of a weird balance between like adulthood and like being a college student still. But I was still able to study abroad at the same time in the same year. And I really recommend it. And with business, it's very easy to be flexible with studying abroad. And especially if you go through a program where you can take business courses, which is what I recommend, that's probably the best thing to do. And also go for a whole semester, because even though I was only there for 2.5 months, I still got to travel to Italy, Paris, Belgium, like everywhere. So I highly recommend really considering studying abroad, wherever your education may take you. So that's all I have for me. Nicole?
And just to step in for just a moment before Nicole,
Sure.
is that one of the things you'll find is that there's always going to be trade-offs on your time. So Sarah studied abroad, but if you do like 3 co-ops, it becomes tougher. So I don't think, Victoria, you didn't get a chance to study abroad, right? I think. Because again, so there's always going to be, so everybody has to make those choices, but that's the point, is it's a embarrassment of riches in terms of things you can choose to do or not. And, so but sometimes you can maybe study abroad in the summer if you can't, or even a winter session. Sometimes there's ways to do it. And study abroad's nice. I didn't go abroad. I didn't have a passport when I was 40 years old, and I regret not having had that experience when I was younger. So anyway, Nicole, I'll let you kick in here now.
All right, so hi everyone, my name's Nicole. I'm also a senior marketing major, so really sad that college is kind of ending for me and Vic. It's really sad. We don't want to leave TCNJ at all. But for me, some of the internships I had, like them, I co-opted at J&J, Johnson & Johnson, in supply chain, like Victoria. So I worked a lot in direct procurement, which shows more about like the sourcing of materials to make consumer products. So in my marketing skills, I was able to use a lot of different analytical tools just to kind of bring to that position. So a lot of like that strategy piece is what I was bringing into that co-op. I'm currently co-oping again in my second rotation, more as a part-time co-op. So that's, like Vic was saying, how normal co-op is 40 hours a week, like completely adulting. That's what I did my last co-op. But this one, it's more so part-time, so it can range between 20, 30 hours a week, which is still a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's still a part-time co-op, and I'm taking like a full course load on top of that. And other internships that I've had 2 other internships. So my first internship was for anybody who's really interested in sports. I actually interned for the New Jersey Devils, which was an awesome experience. I interned there the summer after my sophomore year. So I was a sales intern. I got to work in the Prudential Center. I got to meet the GM, the head coach, everybody like on the frontline execs of the Devils, which was a crazy experience. And I'm a huge sports fan, so that was like the dream come true kind of internship that I always wanted. So in that role, I was really in a predominantly sales role. I also worked on some like game theme night strategies. So like, if like the Devils have some theme night where it's like some sort of cause they're doing, or like a heritage night, like there comes a lot of planning in that and things like that. So I got to be on teams that helped execute those and make them happen, which was really cool. I worked there for 3 months as a summer internship. And after that, my last internship that I had was actually on campus. Something really cool that the campus has is something called the College Engagement Internship Program. So you'd be just an intern in one of the offices on campus. So I was just in the Office of Leadership. So basically in that, I supported that office 20 hours a week, working with them on their marketing, communication, and social media plans. So, that was literally right on campus. It was the easiest thing I could have done. Like, I just walked over to like the student center, punched my hours in, like it was very easy. So I think that's something cool that the college does. They allow you to get to meet other interns in the college as well. So there's like at least 20, I feel like, of us that got to do it. So that was really cool. In terms of involvement on campus, outside of like work and stuff, like Sarah, I'm also a business school peer mentor. I'm actually the president of the organization. So what she was talking about is that freshman experience, is that Business 99, Business 100 seminar. So basically you're gonna be put into class. It's pass fail every Wednesday, 50-minute class. So real short, and we just kind of teach you guys like the things about business that you don't typically learn from like the textbooks. So things like resume skills and like interview skills, things like that. Things to just help you like set up yourself like to be the most successful. I know my peer mentor, like you get paired with a peer mentor, I still talk to her. She's awesome. Like she's helped me a lot. I looked over my resume throughout the past like couple of years. So it's really cool because like what Dr. McCarty was saying in the beginning is just that TCNJ is a relationship school, and like everyone's just like I know Dr. McCarty, and like he helps me through everything. My advisors will help me. So I think that's something really special about like the experience I've had. So like
you also worked with Karen Becker. You worked with the professor on some research and stuff.
Oh yeah, that too. So I did research with my professor. She's also my advisor. So there's also opportunities, like even though you're like, oh, I'm marketing, like I don't know if that's like predominantly research, there's definitely a lot of different opportunities that you can do by just connecting with faculty, seeing what kind of research they're working on, and just if you want to support it in any way. I think that was something really cool and unique I got to experience with my professor, and we really built a strong bond from that too. And just like other things I'm involved with on campus is I'm also in a sorority. I'm a student athlete, I run track. So if you guys have any concerns about like how to balance athletics and schoolwork, like definitely like can understand that and like talk to you about it. I was also in a couple other different clubs, like leadership development program. It's just to help students develop throughout the 4 years to like kind of grow their leadership skills and some other things like that. But that's a little bit about me.
All right, thank you. And I guess really for the rest of the time, it'd be nice to answer your all's questions. I see a few on the side here, and actually one of them I might throw to the students. And in fact, whichever question you ask, you can either be to everyone or you can ask the student's perspective or whatever. But one, and this always comes up, is do I need a Windows computer, any specific software for marketing? I never know how to answer that because students, a lot of them like to have a Apple computer. I do know though, Apple computer sometimes has trouble with Excel and stuff. So I don't know whether you guys, whether you all have Apple or an IBM or what's the best way to go, but.
So if you actually, even if you don't even have a computer, you can go to our library or the School of Business. They'll actually leave classrooms open and they have all the Excel resources on there. And then additionally, TCNJ actually gives you all like Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, all like you get access to that, as well as like a ton of like databases for like research. Really anything you guys need. If you don't have it, TCNJ probably has a license for it. And then once you have like your PAWS ID, which is like,
oh, did we lose her?
A little bit.
Oh,
she's
Victoria's.
is the computers at the library, at the School of Business, or really any of the computer labs that are open. It's awesome.
But if a student's going to buy a computer, would you get an Apple or would you get an IBM? Or I mean, it's different. I've seen both of them.
It
I have an
doesn't
Apple. It's great. Like I've never had an issue like not being able to get any of the software. I don't know about Sarah and Nicole.
Yeah, I have an HP, like so Windows, and like also, and I was comfortable with that. Didn't feel the need to switch to like an Apple or anything like that. I'm very fine with mine. So
I also have a Windows computer, and funny story, on my Accepted Students Day, my dad literally went up to like the IT department of the business school and was like, hey, what computer do you recommend? And they recommended like this big clunky like 15-inch Lenovo. It was like heavier than my textbooks, and my dad bought it for me. And then I showed up to class on the first day and I was like, nobody has this laptop. So I ended up just getting a nicer, sleek Windows laptop eventually. But it really, like, the business school will recommend that Lenovo one. I don't know if they changed it, but it's really like whatever you're comfortable with.
Sarah, I don't know if we actually have had anybody officially up there. That might have just been somebody that was just in that room. And
I really don't know what happened.
Tuesday that we have a special person up there, but it might have been just somebody playing that role. There's a question about, can you focus on international studies while majoring in interdisciplinary business? Yes, we have I think it's business 1 and business 2. Is that the way it's referred to, Tammy? It's there's a way you can do an international studies major and a business minor, or a business major and international studies minor. Sorry, that's a spam call my phone is saying. Or you can double major in international studies and in business, and that's not all that hard to do. So yes, you can definitely incorporate international studies in your in what you're doing. A couple of questions about IDB. There is some flexibility. The flexibility in IDB is within the specialization. So we're talking about flexibility within 4 or 5 courses. So it's not like you can't, you can avoid accounting or something. But within those 4 or 5 courses, unlike the other specializations in IDB, they can be outside of the School of Business if that fits with whatever specialization you want to put together. Someone also asked, what are the common tracks? A lot of people have been doing the innovation track. Lots of people have also been doing the public policy track. Those two do seem to be popular, but other people have done in the past, have done a sports kind of marketing track or sports management track. I think music and business people have tied together if they're interested in music. So there's several things you can kind of pull together. Some have done something that pulls in computer science with business a bit in a specialty track. So other questions? Do we get them by the little chat, or do they raise their hand? Any questions?
Yeah, we just encourage everyone to use the chat box. I know we had a webinar last night, and one of the students jumped in and wanted to know about connections with alumni, or how often have you ever interacted with alumni. So if any of you can touch on that, that would be great.
I could touch on that. So being in a business fraternity, we have like a really strong connection with our alumni base, as I know, like really all the organizations, even if you're on the sports team or you're in a sorority, like a lot of people really do have like super strong alumni base. I know, like, for instance, my sorority and my fraternity, are the alumni are constantly kind of throwing opportunities in the chat saying like, hey, my company's hiring for an internship. Like, if you want to apply, email me at this email, which is really awesome. I actually still talk to like a lot of the alumni and all the organizations that I'm in, like a lot. One of them actually was editing my resume last week because I was sending it to my business fraternity for something, and she's been graduated for 5 years. So kind of just goes to show like they really do care. And I think because we have like a close-knit community, and it is like maybe a little bit like smaller, we were able to really like develop and like grow and really have those relationships with alumni. And I know, like, for instance, you know, I'm going to J&J, but I actually was asked to be on the recruitment team for J&J in probably 1.5 years from now. So I know, like, I'm going to be, you know, reaching out to, you know, the students and my ambassador students, my business fraternity students, and I'm going to be trying to help them, you know, come to recruit for J&J. And I know, like, people from Bloomberg, Mets, AT&T, that are alumni, they also will come back and they'll speak. They'll hold alumni sessions and kind of just talk about things that they've done and opportunities that, you know, you could possibly get. So.
Yeah, actually, I just mentioned earlier today, I did a little, we put together a little video on Zoom earlier today that I'm going to upload later for the Business 100 people that's being put together. And those are 3 of our relatively recent alumni, 2014, 15, and 16, I think. I mean, but they're always happy to help out and come to school and do stuff. I often get them to come into my class. Just this past, well, before we had to go online totally, I had 2 alums that one of them worked at Nielsen up at Church of Dwight. I mean, she works for Nielsen, but they're they're placed at the Church and Dwight office, which is up the street from TCNJ. And then the other person, Kelly Dalton, was works at Church and Dwight, so she's a assistant brand manager for there. So they came in to talk about the 2 different sides of things, the brand side, and then the Nielsen, which provides analytical information for the brand. But anyway, so alumni are always happy to come back to school and help, and students get to meet them and so on. So I think we have a fairly strong alumni. I think this spring, as in previous springs, we were going to go up to see the alumni in New York that had to be canceled this year, but we have 2 alumni events where a lot of alumni come to. It's unfortunate this spring, obviously, it had to be canceled. But yeah, I think we have a pretty good relationship with alumni, I would say. Oh wait, there's some more questions have jumped in here. How likely is it to get an internship in the business fraternity? Well, in terms of getting an internship, certainly school will help you a lot on that. You interview for internships, but through the campus resources, or you find out about internships, or I email out about internships. I would have to say, and again, students tell me if this is not correct, that every student that wants to get an internship gets an internship. I mean, that it's really a matter of the little initiative on the students' part. It's not going to drop in your lap, so you have to apply for it, got to put a resume together that looks reasonable, and so on. But I think every student who wants an internship has gotten one, usually more than one. Would you all say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, and I think like going off that is just like using the tools that like kind of the school gives you to like be able to set yourself up to get an internship that you want. So I think like that means like going to the career center, they're able to check your resume, tell you exactly what way you should do it, like making sure it looks the best. And then also just like they can do mock interviews with you if you get really nervous and you're not a good interviewer, like that's fine. They'll literally talk you through it and they'll tell you, all right, like you can just work on this part, and they're kind of just ease your nerves. And just like going to networking events. So like the school business will give you an email every week, and basically it'll say, hey, this is what's going on in the near future in the business school. So they'll be like, oh, there's this networking event. These people are coming in. You want to come talk to them. It's in this building, like at this time. So there's always like stuff going on. So if you go to it and just gain exposure and like put yourself out there, like even when you're a freshman and you don't even know like what you want to do or anything like that, it's good to just go, just kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
And then there's a question that says, do you have a lot of choice when it comes to internships? So just to be clear on how internships work, it's not like we place you in an internship, we send you off to Arkansas for some you have to apply for it. So you can have choices about where so if you see an internship of interest, if you want to intern in New York City, I think Victoria, you said you did one time, but that was in the summer though for you, right?
It was.
Yeah. If it's during the school year, that's possible, but you have to kind of organize your classes so you can go like 2 or 3 full days in New York. And that's possible. Of course, classes tend to be Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday. So there's ways of setting it up so you can intern in New York City. If you're interning somewhere close to the area here, then you can do little chunks of time on each day. But generally where you intern is again, we're going to help you a lot. The Career Center is going to help you a lot, but it is your choice. We don't place people in internships, but yes, I mean, you'll have some opportunities there. Summer internships are usually the hardest to find because that's when a lot of students are trying to intern. So it is a little easier, I think, to get them during the school year. When can you join the business fraternity? Now, actually, we probably should specify, there's 3 different business fraternities. Sarah, I think you're in one that actually has a recruiting process that's similar to Rush.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. And then Sarah's was a little, I think Victoria's was a little different. Yeah.
It's different, yeah. Yeah.
So mine is more like of a traditional like Greek rush process, although like the fraternity, because it's professional, they like to call it recruitment, but it's the same thing. Just in general, you can expect to find out information about business fraternities in the beginning of every semester. I'm not sure about Vic's fraternity because it's not like necessarily, well, you can explain it. Because mine is a traditional like Greek life fraternity, freshmen are not allowed to rush until the spring semester, and that goes for all of Greek life at TCNJ. TCNJ has that like no rush freshman falls rule because they really wanted us to get more acclimated to college life before we went and joined Greek life. And I actually really love that about TCNJ because it gave me the opportunity to kind of like explore the field, like get settled in before I, joined like a big organization that was a huge time commitment. Like Greek life. So mine is, like I said, more traditional with like a rush process.
And Victoria, explain PSE a little bit. It's really more of a club. It just happens to have Greek letters, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. So actually at other schools, it's affiliated with Greek life, but at TCNJ, they decided not to make it affiliated with Greek life, which it doesn't really make any difference. We're basically still like, we still call ourselves a fraternity, and we still report to like a nationals and stuff. So my fraternity, I think they do have a fall process. I don't know if it's like first semester. I would bank for second semester, but I think they actually can do it first semester. But I wanted to be in a sorority, so I didn't want to go through 2 different rush processes. So I decided to rush a sorority and then join the business fraternity that didn't have the rush process. But again, regardless of the business fraternity that you're joining, whether it's DSP like Sarah or PSE like mine, we still have a ton of like people kind of, doing the same thing, like resume building, professional developments, our alumni coming in to talk about where they work and people trying to like kind of help you to grow there. And another thing that I will say, like I know my business peer mentor, she was the one that kind of connected me to get into my fraternity. So I know like, and Sarah and Nicole could probably speak to this better because they are peer mentors. When you have that, freshman first semester class, they kind of guide you in the right direction based on like, what you guys want to do. So I knew mine really helped me to kind of focus on, I thought I wanted to go into sales originally. So that's why I focused on that fraternity, but they kind of help you to look at all of the different options because there are so many options. But again, that's, it's a good thing that there are so many options, but they'll kind of help to point you in the right direction and tell you what all those options are and, what you should do or what you can do to kind of get there.
Yeah, actually, just to clarify, from my perspective as a faculty member, I think of PSE as one of the 2 marketing clubs. There's the American Marketing Association, which is part of the National American Marketing Association, and students join that. And that has a more general marketing feel to it, whereas PSE, which is a business fraternity, is somewhat more connected around sales and marketing as well. But so from my perspective, I see students that might be in both of those. And again, since the PSE that Victoria's in doesn't have the social aspect to it in the sense of what a traditional social fraternity is, that's why I kind of think of it as 2 different clubs, or that you can join both or one of them. There's no restrictions to joining PSE, I don't believe, right? So doesn't have a rush process. People, if they're interested in sales, join it, right?
Yeah, but the only thing is you can't be in PSE and DSP or PSE and AK Psi or AK, you have to be in one of the 3.
Oh, that I didn't really even realize that. Yeah, that's interesting. But again, in a broader sense, you all should understand there's a lot of organizations in the business school that students can join, some which are, quote, business fraternities, others are just clubs, like American Marketing Association is a student chapter of the American Marketing Association, which I'm a faculty member that is a part of that. There's there's an accounting club for those sorts of things. So there's lots of, I don't know what the total number, Tammy might know, I can't remember how many different organizations we have in the business school, but it's quite a bit of them for almost every interest, I'd say. But
we have 15 different student clubs.
Exactly. So
we used to have 14, but then students wanted to add one. So we always welcome students to add something as well.
Yeah. In fact, a few years ago, I can't remember if it's gotten started yet. They were talking about an entrepreneurship club or something, or
there's one.
Okay, they did. Okay. So so the students get interested, you can help form a club of some sort. Let's see. Someone asked, do you have a lot of people who get internships in Philly or Princeton? Philly, sometimes, but it's interesting. I think I see more in New York than Philadelphia. And I'm not sure why. We're closer to Philadelphia. Princeton, there is, not Princeton down where the university is, but Princeton Partners is up on Route 1. And so it's technically probably West Windsor, but it's near Princeton. So there are ones that are around in this general area up that a ways. That people do. And someone asked about, is there help in terms of getting job at the end of the whole thing? Yes, that's career services again. They will help you in terms of your job search. I should point out, and I always tell this to students when they start the first of their freshman year, when I meet with them on the day before classes start, I mean, a lot of it's up to you. And by that, I mean, we give you lots of resources, but in some ways you're writing your own story about who you are. So when you, at the end of your 4 years, you in an interview can talk very intelligently in a 30-minute interview about, I did this, I did that, I had this internship where I learned this, blah, blah, blah. So in a sense, we will give you all the resources to help you, but a job will not drop in your lap. There is, and this is true of any school, I'll be honest with you. Any school tells you they're going to give you or guarantee you a job, they're misrepresenting things. We will do everything to help you, and I think our employment record in terms of after graduation is as good as any of the schools in the general area or in this area. This year, I don't know. I don't even know we know yet whether it'll be down or not, just because of this. Of course, the economy's having a little trouble right now, but there's tons of resources. What I've always see is that the students that take advantage of those resources will be the ones that will have an easier time in the job market. But yes, there is a career service center. Your all kinds of mentors, from your peer mentor in your freshman year, your faculty advisor, all those folks are there to help you in that process. So getting a job in marketing is sometimes tougher than getting a job in finance or in accounting sometimes. But the truth is, you gotta, part of where you get a job in something now is your passion for that. So I would never recommend somebody going to accounting just because there's more jobs there if they don't have a passion for that, or finance or whatever. In terms of your employment in the future, think of it in terms of what are you good at, what really interests you, and what are the job opportunities. I mean, there's some areas the job opportunities are just not like they used to be. That is true in a traditional advertising agency. The agencies that put the advertising on TV and stuff. I worked in one of those in the early 80s, and that was sort of probably at the tail end of the Mad Men period, if you ever watched that TV show. It was back when ad agencies were getting, they were paid by commission. They got 15% of media calls, and that's how they were paid. And advertising on TV and all, it was just extraordinarily expensive. So they were, every time they placed an ad, they got 15% commission on that. They were making all kinds of money and stuff. And it was a good kind of organization to work for in those days. Now they don't get 15% commission anymore. They're on billable hours. They don't make the kind of money they used to, so they're not hiring as much as they used to. So one of the things about getting a job is realizing there's just some areas that are very hard to get a job in. If somebody wants to be an advertising creative in an ad agency, that's a tough thing to get a job in. Was even tough back then. I was not a creative, I was in the research area. But an advertising creative is just a tough area to get a job in. So getting a job is a matter of what's the hit rate for getting a job in that? What am I really interested in? And your passion should drive you to some degree. And then, what are you good at? I remember when I was at Illinois, I had a student who wanted to be an advertising creative. She had the passion for it, and she made it happen, and she did get a job in that because she just had enough passion to want to do that. So, getting a job is a complex sort of thing of all kinds of things you have to think about. But we will help you, and we have the resources to help in that process.
Dr. McCarty, can I jump in for a second?
Sure, absolutely.
So Dr. McCarty talks a lot about different resources and career services that'll help you look for internships internships and jobs. And probably two of the biggest helps for the whole job search, internship search process that you'll find at TCNJ is number one, Handshake, and number two, the career fair. So Handshake is a platform that we have at TCNJ, and they have it at other schools too, but it's really, really helpful because it'll list, you can basically put in your profile, think of it almost like a TCNJ version of LinkedIn, where you upload your profile, you know, almost like your resume, your interests, your career interests, and the types of jobs or internships that you're interested in, and it'll filter for you. You can even filter by location and everything. It'll filter out all the different jobs and internships that would be interesting to you. And for a lot of them, they're super easy to apply because TCNJ kind of buys into Handshake, I guess you could say. A lot of times it's like a one-click application. Like you put in your resume and recruiters will see, oh, it's a TCNJ student, and they look at your resume, and then you get in contact with them through there. And a lot of times I've had that one-click application process, and it's so unbelievably easy. And a lot of the companies that work through Handshake with TCNJ will do on-campus interviews. So I interviewed for PVH, which is a big fashion company in New York City. I don't really want to work in New York City, so I didn't go through with that one, but they do on-campus interviews, meaning the interviewers come to TCNJ in the career services office and sit there with you. So you don't have to worry about going to an off-campus location to do an interview. J&J does the same thing, and there are other companies that do on-campus interviews at TCNJ also. But Handshake also allows you to see, when it's coming up to the career fair, all the employers that are going to be at the career fair. And the career fair happens once near the beginning of each semester, so twice a year. And I absolutely love the career fair because, I mean, maybe I'm just nerding out right now, but you walk in and you're like, this is a sea of opportunities right here. And the cool thing is Handshake allows you to see the employers that are going to be at the career fair, so you can do your research on them. You can know exactly who you want to talk to, just so you're not going in completely blind. But I've noticed over the past few career fairs that I've been to that there are actually more employers at the career fair than Handshake lets on. And I don't know if it's just because certain companies don't know about Handshake, but there are definitely a bunch on Handshake that are big hits. Like J&J is always on Handshake, PVH, and a bunch of other companies that you can do your research on. But going to that career fair is key, I would say. And even though it's unlikely, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely that you'll find an internship as a freshman at the career fair. I still went my freshman year, because when you go during your sophomore year and it's your sophomore fall or sophomore spring, and you're like, okay, I want to get an internship, that's my goal out of this career fair. If you had that experience going freshman year, talking to recruiters, you'll definitely feel a lot more prepared going into your sophomore year, because it's not a big scary thing anymore. You know what it's like to talk to a recruiter. They're just people, and they're looking to hire TCNJ students. So going to that career fair is definitely a big advantage that we have at TCNJ, and it's a really great way to kickstart your career in your internship search.
Can I jump in really quick too,
Sure.
Dr. Carty? And then I think actually something that we didn't touch on that's actually right easily at our fingertips. A lot of our professors in the business school, some of them are full-time professors, but some are actually adjuncts. So what that means is that they have some kind of day job. They work in marketing, they work in finance, they're an accountant, and then they teach at night. So a lot of them, really help to recruit through their classes. Again, like Dr. McCarty said, it really is up to you to go to that career fair, to make that connection with your professor. It's not going to just fall in your lap. Me, Nicole, and Sarah, we worked really hard, and I had a supply chain class, and my professor, I knew she worked for J&J, and I knew I wanted to do a co-op with J&J. So I would stay after a few classes and I would talk to her about it. And then she looked over my resume and she kind of pushed through me, and I credit, me getting my co-op really to her, to my professor. So, no matter where you go, whether it's TCNJ or, wherever, take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. Work hard, make those relationships with your professor, with your alumni, go to the career fair. That's how you're going to succeed anywhere. So that's just my tidbit of advice as a senior.
Let me answer a couple of the quick questions here. Someone asked, should you go to grad school to get an MBA? I would argue not right away. I would wait, go out and work for a little bit, and come back. You get more of an MBA if you've had experience. Someone asked, is there internships abroad? We generally don't have those, but there have been people who have gone and studied abroad where they could do an internship when they're there. And that's there. I don't know if that was true at Heidelberg or not. Was there internship opportunity? I think London, there's one. I know there's
not for Heidelberg as much, but
I think London
I
has
know is a
one.
popular one.
Right. So there have been people who have interned abroad when they've gone study abroad. Someone asked how stable are entry jobs for students fresh out of TCNJ. Well, stability is never. I mean, right now, for example, we don't know what's going to happen right now, but I would say it's probably better that you're coming out 4 years from now than say next year. I mean, just given what's going on in the world right now, it's just, you know, and so stability of the job market. I mean, and we feel it the same way any other place would. If for example, Wall Street has a real problem, finance jobs shrink somewhat in everywhere. So you know, there's no predicting that. Let's see, I was going to see other questions. Someone did ask about the public policy track and IDB. If that's just one person or two people interested in that, my email, you should email me. I'll direct you to one of the people that teaching that. I don't know, Tammy, if they were going to have my email. You can go online to get it, but I'm MCCARTY, no H in it, MCCARTY, and then the little @ TCNJ.edu. If you have a question that doesn't get answered here, oh, good, Tammy just did. If I knew how to work this thing, I would have put my, but, and so, yeah, you can certainly email me. We're right in the middle of registration, so it could be a little bit before I get back to you on it, but I'll try to answer questions or direct you to the right people on that.
Someone had asked a question about student debt and how long does it take to pay off your education. That question varies so much from person to person that we don't have an average that would actually be meaningful to you. What we do know is that when you rank the ability to pay off any debt you do accrue, that TCNJ has ranked 11th in the country, which is pretty impressive. And what they do is they look at what's the earning potential and job rate when you graduate relative to what you owe, and how fast are students paying it off. So we know we're doing a really good job in helping students to pay that off as quick as they can. Also, we have a financial aid office where I completely encourage students to go and talk to them. I know personally when I was in college, I was a junior in college before I went and talked to them because I thought I really had to have like no money in order to go there. And they were like, oh, you should have talked to us as a freshman. So I try to tell people, go and talk to them because you really want to understand what is out there for you. And also, what is the process? And also to not take out more money than you really need if you are taking out money, because 10 years after you graduate college, if you look back, you might have made a different decision. So they'll give you really great advice. And then also once you graduate, you're given a 6-month grace period before you have to start paying anything back. So we have really good support for that. I think we have a really good story when it comes to paying back any debt that you accrue.
Yeah, it's just to say, I mean, it's unquestionably the case that college is an expensive thing. And that's why you want to, you know, find a place that matches your interests and all, but also is the most affordable situation for you. I mean, because it is, and it's gotten much more expensive over the years. I'm 68 years old now. I graduated from college in 1973, and I went to Vanderbilt University, a private school. And I can still remember my tuition my last year was $2,400, and now Vanderbilt's tuition is probably $50,000. So, you know, if you look at the curve of how the cost of living and how, in general, the cost of living has increased, college has increased a lot more. So it is an expensive proposition. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. And so, yeah, now, given that we're, I think, a very high quality state school, we can offer usually pretty good value for your money, you know, but again, you know, you have to look at what another school is offering you and what we may or may not be offering you. And so kind of do that math of it, you know, and it, you know, it's just, but the cost of it is a serious consideration, and do take that into consideration. You know, but I do think we give good value for our money.
These sessions are supposed to be about an hour, and we're just about to run over our hour. So I don't want to rush anybody, but if there's any final pressing questions that people want to throw in the chat box, this would be a great time for it. And also any final things that our students were hoping to share, if you want to jump in.
Yes, actually, I saw there was one more question about like internships outside the New York Philly area. Someone's from like the Boston area. So my best friend here is from Boston, so at TCNJ, and I know that she was like looking at potential opportunities at Bose, which is in Massachusetts, and also that handshake platform we were talking about with like all those applications. Like they're not just strictly to around the area. I literally applied to one that's in Texas, like yesterday, I think. So there's opportunities. Not just here, there's like alumni that are all over the place. A really cool alumni that I like to shout out, his name's Al Guido. He's literally the president of the 49ers. And he's, you know, not here, he's in California, president of the 49ers. That's pretty cool. So I think like there's just a lot of reach in a lot of different areas. So yeah.
For our students, if you're willing to be contacted personally, do you mind typing your email in the chat box for everybody? Or you could have people connect with you on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, let's connect.
Yeah, I'll give you my LinkedIn.
LinkedIn right now.
Yeah.
I think this is it.
For any of you out there in high school, we can't say enough that it's never too soon to create your LinkedIn profile and start networking and practicing your networking skills. So maybe this will be what drives you to refresh your LinkedIn profile.
One final thing I said, which is usually what I often say in the introduction, I forgot, is that, yeah, firstly, I went to a couple of 3 different schools in graduate school, and then I've taught at a couple of 3 different schools. So I've been at a lot of different schools, one way, either as a student or as a professor. And every college has its own kind of feel and culture and so on. So part of your decision might be very attribute based, like, this school has this, and this one has this, and like that. But part of it is just what feels right to you. And that is unfortunate because usually you get that feel by coming and visiting the campus, and you don't have that this time around. And hopefully you did sometime before got to visit the campus, but usually we have a good feel to us. I mean, I think there's a sense of the community that we are, and that's not always true. Some schools, very extraordinarily good schools like MIT for years, I don't know what it's like now, used to have a very almost kind of very stark kind of engineering. The buildings are very gray. It's not a comfortable place, although wonderful education. So every school's got its own little feel. And again, it's unfortunate that you, again, like I hope you did get the visit sometime before, but usually on Accepted Students Day, it's in April. It's often a good day, and you didn't get that. So this isn't quite giving you the feel, although I think our students did a fantastic job of giving. I think you can read from them the excitement that they have about having been a part of TCNJ.
Well, I think it's time to wrap up then. Everyone has a ton of email resources shared in the chat box, so go ahead and grab them up. Of course, if you have any questions after this, we want you to use those contacts. If you don't know who to contact and you have a non-business question, you can still contact the School of Business. We have an address that's just business@tcnj.edu, and we can always get you pointed in the right direction. I really want to thank our chair, Dr. McCarty, for spending your time with us this evening, and of course our students who are juggling all your classes on Zoom and yet willing to add in another Zoom meeting. You guys are all fantastic. We're so blessed to have you as our students. I hope everyone stays well. We can't wait to see you in person and to see you on campus. So thank you for joining us, and have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Can the students hang back for a second? Sarah,
Yeah.
Victoria, and Nicole, just so people.